Distracting is extremely overpowered in Danny's World, so much so that if someone distracts in a Danny's World run and is good at it, it makes the game easy mode for everyone else. That being said, who should you play as if you want to be a good distractor? Well, maybe I can help you decide. What's up, fellow monsters? I'm Betson, and these are, in my opinion, the top 9 best distractor tunes in Danny's World. But before we begin, I should explain what I think makes a distractor tune good. Firstly, a distractor should obviously be fast, but also if a distractor needs to consume stamina, they should have enough stamina to do so. So with that being said, my criteria for what makes a good distractor tune is that the tune should have 4 or 5 star movement speed and at least 3 stars in stamina. However, I can't make this a top 10 best distractor tunes in Danny's World because as of this video, there are only 8 tunes that fit these criteria. There was also one big exception to this rule that will be mentioned on the list, which is why this list is top 9, and you probably already know who this exception is if you've played Danny's World enough, but with no further delay, let's get on with the list. Number 9. Cole. Cole has pretty decent distracted stats with 4 stars in both movement speed and stamina. However, what's holding her down is that her ability is borderline useless, not just for her but for the other players as well. You want to know what her ability does? It highlights all items on the floor for all players for 10 seconds. That's it. That's all her ability is. It's literally Pebble's passive ability, except it's active and it highlights the items for all players. Also, potentially hot take, her ability cooldown is stupid long at 100 seconds. So yeah, she's a good distractor, but among the good distractors, Cole is unfortunately subpar. Number 8. Goob. Goob is very, very similar to Cole. Both of them have 4 stars in movement speed and stamina, as well as an active ability that doesn't really help them that much. Goob's ability is that he can pull other tunes to him. Really? That is literally so counterproductive as a distractor. I mean, sure, you can pull tunes to the elevator, but the distractor is supposed to be the last player in the elevator anyways. Take a look at this clip of me and my dad playing Danny's World together. For context, the Tisha outside the elevator is my dad, and there's a distractor Goob coming to the elevator. Get in, Dad.
I will. You douche.
However, Goob goes slightly above Cole because he has 2 star stealth, compared to Cole's 3. Having lower stealth isn't necessary as a distractor, but it can definitely be helpful. However, even so, Goob is still not close to being the best distractor. Number 7. Blot. This is, in my opinion, where the good distractors go from being subpar to just par. Blot takes the edge over Cole and Goob in my opinion just a little bit because he has 5 star stamina. Meanwhile, his ability doesn't always help him, but at least it's not useless. His ability creates a small decoy that alerts a nearby Twisted to its location at the cost of 10 tapes. The decoy can be hit once before it breaks. This isn't useless. It can at times be helpful for gathering. Exhibit A, I once played as Blot in a public run and I was distracting. On one floor, our team's Sprout was getting chased by Twisted, so I snuck up right next to Sprout and the Twisteds, used my ability, and literally saved him. I felt proud about that moment, especially when that same Sprout said W Blot in the chat not long after. That being said, Blot is unfortunately nothing short of average in my opinion, similar to the next tune on this list. Number 6. Sprout. Sprout is running a similar build to Blot. They actually have almost the exact same stat spreads, the only difference is that Sprout has an extra star at skill check. However, being a main character tune, and a fantastic one at that, he's not just a better distractor, but just a better tune overall, being easily the best healer in the game. That being said, however, he's not exactly meant to be a distractor per se. In fact, when it comes to Danny's World teams that try to reach the world record, they usually have their Sprout be an emergency distractor on top of being a healer. Anyways, let's just move on to the next tune on the list. Number 5. Flutter. Flutter, like Cole and Goob, has 4 stars in movement speed and stamina. She actually has the same stat spread as Cole. However, the big difference is that while Cole and Goob have abilities that aren't really useful at all, Flutter has an ability that helps her. Flutter's ability gives her a dramatic speed boost for a fraction of a second, essentially letting her dash. This can help with gathering Twisteds. Once the elevator opens, she can get a bit of a head start with gathering by dashing the moment she leaves the elevator. You just need to make sure you don't dash right into the Twisteds. Even so, there are simply some Toons that are just better in my opinion. Number 4, Bassie. Bassie is definitely a great distractor due to being one of only 2 Toons in the game so far to have 5 stars in movement speed. In addition, she has 4 stars in stamina. She does have 4-star stealth, but the only thing that the other players with lower stealth than her have to do is just stay away from her. However, what makes her even better is her active ability combined with a certain trinket. The Bone Trinket, earned by completing Twisted Pebble's research, gives the player a 25% movement speed boost for 4 seconds every time the player picks up an item. This trinket is legitimately broken for Bassie, due to Bassie being the only Toon in the game to be able to drop items. And distractor or not, this active ability pairs perfectly with her passive, which gives her an extra inventory slot. So Bassie with the Bone Trinket can pick up some items, gather the Twisteds, drop the items in a circle where she's distracting, and pick up the items as she goes. Rinse and repeat, making her pretty fast if done right. There are a few downsides to Bassie, however, one of these being her stealth. If you distract as Bassie in a public run with Toons that have lower stealth, and your teammates are, for lack of a better term, dipshits, it's gonna be quite hard and very annoying to distract. Additionally, the Bone Trinket has been nerfed, so now there's a limit to how much of a speed boost you can get at once. Nowadays, the Bone Trinket increases your movement speed until your walk speed reaches 30. That way your run speed is 40. This nerf was actually due to a lot of pro Bassie players using the Bone Trinket to their advantage in order to distract Twisted Dial, whose chase speed caps at 40. Even with these downsides though, I'd say that Bassie is a pretty good distractor. However, not as good as the Toons on the podium, so let's see who's on there. Number 3. Eclipse. I'm probably very biased with this one, considering Eclipse is my favorite Toon in the game. However, I think that she's pretty good as a distractor. Eclipse has 4-star movement speed and 3-star stamina. However, she also gets bonus points for having 2 stars in stealth. That being said, her real strong suit is her ability, which is incredibly beneficial because not only does it buff her, but it's extremely helpful to people who aren't necessarily phenomenal at distracting and blackouts. Blackouts, in my opinion, are one of the most annoying things in Danny's World. And I know that some people play Danny's World on monitors that could be super bright, so that they can see way further into the map, but others, like me, don't have that kind of privilege. That's where Eclipse's ability comes in handy. Not only does Eclipse have a larger glow in blackouts than most Toons, she's actually the only Toon with more than 3 stars in movement speed to be able to do so, but in blackouts, she also gets a 20% movement speed boost, and her max stamina is increased by 60%. 60%, that is insane. Eclipse in blackouts literally has stamina in space. And, as a bonus, she is now the second Toon ever to, in the right circumstances, be able to outwalk Twisted Pebble. Yeah, you heard me. For those that are unaware, Twisted Pebble is the fastest Twisted in the game, if you discount Dial, with a whopping chase speed of 25. That speed is very difficult to reach as a walking speed unless you use items. However, Eclipse in a blackout with a dodge plus trinket plus active clown horn or ribbon spool has a walk speed of 25.41. However, even with all of this being said, I still don't think that Eclipse is the best distractor in Danny's World. She's not even the runner-up in my opinion, and it makes me a bit sad. But let's continue on with the list and see who the last 2 are. Number 2, Louie. This is the exception to my criteria for what makes a good distractor Toon. Louie only has 3 stars in movement speed, although he gets bonus points for having only 2 stars in stealth. However, there is a reason why I consider him a good distractor Toon at all, and it all has to do with his ability. Louie's ability gives him a movement speed boost when he's at 2 or 1 heart. When he's on 2 hearts, he gets a 20% movement speed boost, but when he's on 1 heart, he gets a 40% movement speed boost. However, the movement speed boost either decreases or goes away when he gets healed. This is honestly huge, and as long as you know how to avoid attacks, Louie is phenomenal. I usually stay on 2 hearts when I distract as Louie, and I only go to 1 heart for tricky combos, like if I have Twisted V. Also, Louie is the other Toon in this game that's able to outwalk Twisted Pebble, with dodge plush at the clown horn to ribbon spool, and on 1 heart, having a walk speed of 25.41 in that situation. There's only one big issue when it comes to Louie. If you want to distract as Louie, you basically can't be at full health. And if you're on 1 heart, you need to be careful. Exhibit A.
Nope, this is Danny's floor. And it's blackout.
This isn't Danny's floor, this is the,
Gotcha, bitch!
Oh!
Dang. Goob was he was like, hey, what's up, bro? Come say hello.
I saw the aggro thing. I was like, oh, a Twisted's on me. And then I saw his hands and I was like, oh no. That is Louie's primary, but basically only downfall, which is why Louie's at number 2. And finally, the moment that you have been waiting for, the best Distractor toon in Danny's World, in my opinion, number 1 is... Alright, I'll stop pretending this is a surprise to some of you. You avid Danny's World players already know who the f*** it is. It's Pebble! Pebble is nothing short of a powerhouse of a Distractor, with 5-star movement speed, 4-star stamina, a tiny hitbox, and an active ability that's ridiculously helpful for gathering Twisteds. I don't think there's any doubt that Pebble is the best Distractor by a long shot. As long as he has the right trinkets, he can distract any Twisted and any Twisted combo in the game, with one big exception. Even so, this is not even close to being enough of a downside to stop Pebble from being the best Distractor in Danny's World. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I am very sorry that I haven't uploaded stuff for a while, but if you're genuinely interested in my content and want to see more, do consider subscribing and turning on notifications so that you don't miss when my future videos come out. I'll probably make another video by next month about me getting the Christmas tunes after the Christmas event comes back. With that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, fellow monsters, and I also hope you had a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate the holiday. And remember, live life strong, keep roaring, and stay heart healthy. Peace out.